Jones. Greetings, and welcome back to another installment of the Universal Jones Show. That's what we're going to call this one. I am your host, Universal Jones, also known as Brandon Jones. Greetings and welcome to the channel. Today, we're going to have a in-depth conversation about something that a lot of people don't like to talk about, which is child abuse. And there's different levels of child abuse, and I have a friend that's going to join me in the show. You've actually seen him on the channel a couple times now. His name is Lionel Suggs. He and I have had a lot of conversations offline about this endemic, not even a epidemic. It's an endemic. It's something that's been going on for quite some time, and we don't talk about it. And in one of our previous conversations, it reminded me of something I used to study back when I originally was going to get my PhD back in the early 2010s. It was like 2009, 2010, 2011. I came across something called psychohistory by a philosopher and psychologist by the name of Lloyd Dumas. And what he did was talk about the real dark nature of human beings and how abusive we are to children. He really dug deep into this and did a lot of research, a lot of insight. And that includes things like sexual abuse. Now, I got away from that because that's a deep and dark slope to go down. But what it did remind me of is how rampant this is and how we overlook it. We just kind of glaze over how frequent these things happen and how often that they show up in our daily lives. And Lionel has been somebody that I've met over the last few months who's really just said, no, we need to talk about this. Stuff is happening all the time. He has personal experience, and I would say he has professional experience as he's done a lot of work in this space to help victims. And one thing that has happened more recently for myself, not necessarily an awakening, but more eye-opening, is I have been paying more attention to these cases. And just locally in my own state, I would say over the last 2 weeks in Lionel, I've sent Lionel all these links. Like, there's been about 6 pretty horrific cases of child abuse that has happened. And I'm like, man, this stuff hits the news and we just it gets a 2-minute clip and then it goes away and then the next kid gets victimized. And I know throughout my career as a therapist, as somebody who's worked in social services, I've worked not even just within the state of Minnesota, but also surrounding state, the Dakotas, Iowa, Wisconsin, even Illinois. I've looked at different cases. I've been a part of different cases. You know, those things can, when you're in it, it can feel just like a bubble. It can feel like it's just normalized. But what ends up happening is you don't really see, it's kind of like the forest from the trees. It reminds me actually of the phenomenon, if you've ever bought a new car, and maybe not a brand new car like shit off the lot, but if you ever got a new car, you start to notice other new cars just like it. It's like, oh, there's that same car, there's the same car right there. It's kind of like that phenomenon. It's like once it happens, or once you kind of put an eye onto it, it starts to show up more and more and more. So I'm gonna open up with my monologue, and I'm gonna bring my guest in here in a moment. So welcome in yet again. Welcome back. We are back with another stream. Today's conversation isn't entertainment. It's not gossip. It's not another headline to scroll past. This is about awareness. This is about what's happening to young people right now, online, offline, and environments of adults pretend to understand, but don't take it seriously enough. And today's guest is going to take it very serious. A lot of what we are going to talk about doesn't show up in our news, and it doesn't trend. It doesn't get the same attention, and at least the celebrity, unless it's like a celebrity scandal. But behind the scenes, behind the algorithms, and behind the curated images, there are kids and teens being failed every day. Lionel Suggs is here with me, and we're going to take the layers off today. We're going to talk about these patterns. We're going to talk about some data. We're going to talk about the real experiences that don't get spoken about because it makes people uncomfortable. But silence is a part of the problem. Comfort is also a part of the problem. We're going to bring up the Lil Tay situation and Bhad Bhabie situation. If you don't know about those, these are 2 young ladies who, when they turned 18, they decided to open up OnlyFans accounts, and both of them became instant millionaires because of the level of thirst amongst men who were waiting for them to turn 18, and they hopped in to see what these young ladies look like on an OnlyFans type of dynamic and situation. So again, we're not going to look at them as entertainers or look at this as entertainment, but as examples of exploitation in plain sight. These young women were children. Literally, they were minors. And literally, like they turned 18 and said, my OnlyFans link is available the same day, and became instant millionaires. So when the world watches grown men sexualize, harass, and chase them, the saddest part is people normalize it. They make jokes. They overlook it in other ways. And when they turn 18, we saw that the predators stepped right out of the shadows. And not only did they step right out of the shadows, but they've been waiting for that clock to strike for those young ladies to hit legal age for them to open up their OnlyFans accounts. And what we saw online was just a result. What led up to the moments is the real story: how grooming works, how the industry pressures work, how the lack of parenting works, how society rewards the most harmed behaviors. And it's not just happening to viral teens; it's happening in schools and youth programs and neighborhoods and at homes all the time. Children and adults of every age are living with the impacts of unprotected, unsupported, and unseen. So we're going to talk about this today. And I've seen it personally, again, in my clinical, professional, and in my other walks of life. Unfortunately, some people that I actually know personally who have been harmed in this kind of situation in this nature. Lionel's going to go through it all. He's going to talk about what he's seen. He's going to talk about the data. He's going to talk about some stories. He's got a lot of information to share. This is probably going to be a series. It's not going to be a one-off conversation because he does dive deep into this. And we're going to try our best to have a nice full understanding and get a full picture of how deep this issue really runs. So today is about clarity. It's about responsibility, and it's about understanding abuse. And it doesn't start with something physical happens. You know, it does start sometimes with neglect. Sometimes it starts with attention, and sometimes it starts with culture. But oftentimes we see systems fail. We see silence show up. And we see that a lot of people tend to look the other way, and these young people are being harmed. So, you know, if we care about the next generation, if we care about our own communities, however we look at this, this is something that we definitely need to talk about and have a conversation about. So settle on in, take this conversation seriously, engage in the chat, share this stream, and most importantly, listen. I think that this is the best thing that we can do is listen, because the truth is that too many people treat child abuse like a rare event, but what's actually rare is that adults who step in before it's too late, and people end up being hurt, and then the cycle continues over and over and over again. So let's get into it. I'm going to bring up my guest here in a moment once he's ready to go. I think he is ready to go. All right, Lionel, welcome to the stage, sir.
Good morning, man.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm feeling heavy today.
Okay, you're feeling heavy. All right, well, you know, this is not going to be a light conversation. I know a lot of times I hop on streams and I do shows. I talk about serious stuff, but I always bring a little bit of humor into it because sometimes you do have to lighten it up. But I don't think this is going to be too much of a light conversation for the most part. So if you're feeling heavy, that's okay. Feel free to go and take this where you want. I am going to ask you some questions throughout today. But How about you introduce yourself? Who are you? What do you do, etc., so that the audience knows?
As y'all see, I am Lionel Suggs. I am an author, which you can find my stories at www.heirtothestars.com. And just cutting straight to it. Every statistic you're going to hear today has a child behind it. A real child, real story, and a life altered by someone that they were supposed to trust. When over 90% of sexual abusers are male, when a third of victims are under the age of 12, when millions of men openly count down to the birthdays of girls who still look like children, we're not dealing with a fringe problem. We're dealing with cultural sickness. And it's not about blame. It's about recognition, responsibility, and the courage to stop pretending this isn't happening. Because it's happening everywhere.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, it is. I think I've told this story here on the channel before. I know I told you, but the reason why I became a therapist, one of the reasons that led to me becoming a therapist, was I had this engagement with it was literally two women in about like a 3-month span my sophomore year of college. I went to the University of Minnesota. Of the two women, one of them I was actually trying to like date. Another one was just like the home girl, whatever. And they both had like said, "Hey man, I want to talk to you. I got something serious." Now they didn't say this both verbatim, but you know, something similar. And they were like, "I wanted to let you know that I've been sexually abused." And I'm like, "What the fuck? Why do these girls keep telling me?" He's telling me this because at first it happened. It was like, all right, it was one chick. It was a home girl. I think she just needed somebody to confide in. But then when I was trying to date this other woman, young lady, And she told me, I was like, man, what the fuck is going on? Like, why do these girls keep telling me this? And then I was talking to my roommate, who's my best friend to this day, salute to Chris. He was like, yo, Brandon, like people like to talk to you because like you actually listen to us and you actually give us some decent advice. And you've been through a lot of stuff and we all know about it. So we like to talk to you about it. And he said, you should think about becoming a therapist. And at that point, I was a pre-dentistry student. I probably should have stayed down that track. I'll be fucking a multimillionaire at this point. But I ended up switching my major to sociology like a fool. Um, and but that was the moment, that was like one of those deciding factors, like, okay, maybe I should consider this thing called mental health and go down this road. I like there was some other things that happened, but it was really those two interactions that sparked the kind of the flame to get into this type of work. Was I met these two women that were sexually abused. Now for me, I didn't realize like these both of these young ladies had a lot of similarities, like how they carried themselves. They were very like, when they were around people, they seemed very social, but when it was like a one-on-one dynamic, they were kind of closed and like guarded a little bit. Like
Yeah.
they didn't keep a lot of friends, but the people that they rock with, they rock with. But like when they were out, it was like they were all the way out. It's like, damn, she crazy. Like she twerking on a handstand and shit. Like that's like that. Those are the type of girls they were, but
Yeah.
really they were really reserved girls. And I always thought that that was weird. I'm like, damn, man, when we go out, we're kicking it. We go downtown to the clubs or whatever. You know, these girls is wild as hell, but on a day-to-day level, they seem real reserved. Is that something that you notice around like victims? Like they present maybe two different ways depending on the settings that they're
Yeah, absolutely.
in. Interesting. And you've done some social work. You've actually done social work with victims. Tell us a little bit about that experience and what are some of the characteristics or things that you picked up on with some of the people that you helped?
These people are like ordinary people, like real talk. You wouldn't know that something is going on with them until you actually start talking with them. And I would argue that the more you talk with victims, the easier it is to pick up that, oh man, something happened to them. And it's like, I don't have an exact science on it, but I I keep meeting people who are victims and then want to open up or are literally asking for help. And sometimes they're not saying help me, but you hear how they're talking and then they're asking, you can tell they're asking for help. You know, hey, I need a place to feel protected. I need someone to help me mentally because they are fractured, they are broken. And the people that were supposed to help them didn't help them. The people that they trusted destroyed that trust. And it's, again, it's not an exact science. It's just more so the more you've spoken with them, the more you start to understand that when people just start talking, it's like, dang, there's some real trauma going on here. And it's like it's something they'll let slip. Or it's the fake smile you can see, if that makes sense.
And that fake smile, is that something that they utilize to like protect themselves, or what is that about?
It is. That's literally what it is.
Hmm.
Sometimes you can't always hide it. I bring up how I met a girl. She was assaulted numerous times. The girl was 22 at the time. And I'm helping her and whatnot. And you could just tell something was wrong with her when she'd be sitting by herself. Girl looked broken. But people would come around, she throw up the smile and whatnot, but she was depressed. You could tell she was depressed. So I'm talking to her, we're talking anime, and then she just lets it all out, gives me her story and whatnot. This leads me to someone else, and it's a boy. He's 19.
Hmm.
He was abused by his father sexually. He was abused by his stepfather, molested by his mom. He was attacked and gang assaulted by 5 grown men. The boy was broken. This boy couldn't hide it. When I saw him, he was shivering in a corner. Dude's guardian was saying he couldn't sleep, kept waking up screaming at night. They took him to therapy. Therapy broke him. He was worse off. Went to group therapy. Didn't make him feel any better. But he felt like those people couldn't relate to him. Didn't understand him. Couldn't really talk with him for some reason. And I was able to actually help him get a small breakthrough. But this wasn't someone who could actually hide it versus her, who at least tried to. So you do see different people and how they deal with
it. Okay. Interesting. Is there a specific person or case that just stood out from the others of what you've experienced? You don't gotta say their name, but like a situation like that situation you just shared seems pretty graphic, right?
it. Is
This person was violated by 5 men. Like, that sounds crazy, but go ahead.
So yeah, there was a girl. She was 7, and she was assaulted by her mom's boyfriend. She went and told her mom about what happened, and the mom initially kicked him out, but then let him back in. And then you know what happened once she let him back in. So the girl would get assaulted again.
Mhm.
She realized mom won't protect me. She's 7 years old. And she started running away from home. And when she would run away, she would try to find people that would help her.
Mhm.
And the one constant she met was other grown men trying to assault her.
Mm.
And she realized very quickly the world's not about to protect her.
Mhm.
And she spent from 7 to 12 years old running away from home, just trying to find safety, trying to find someone that would help protect her. But the world told her it was her fault.
Mhm.
I wouldn't believe it if I didn't hear it myself.
Mm.
And it goes back to where they show you in those stats when it's 93% perpetrators are male.
Mhm.
But then the men want to act like this doesn't really happen. It's not all of us, so we don't care about it. Not our child, so we don't care about it.
Let's talk about that dynamic of the men, right? So 97%
93.
of men, 93% of men. I think I took the 3%. So 93% of men are the abusers when the abuse happens. What is it? What is it about males and sexual abuse that this happens so rampant?
Let
What do
me
you
know
think
if
that's
the
about?
CDC verified that also.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think? What have you come across? Because you've done research on this. This is not just your opinion.
Ask your question
Uh,
again. My bad.
no, it's all good. My question is, what is it about men that leads to this much abuse? Why are men perpetrating this level of sexual abuse amongst children?
Yo, I have no idea. I mean, personally, I think it's just something they've been carrying with them since before recorded history. Is just something in them. And I know that guys will like to pretend like that's not true. But yet, the situation that you brought up earlier when it came to Bad Barbie and Lil Tay, these girls look like they're literally entering in high school. That's
Mm-hmm.
what they look like. That's what they sounded like too. But they legally turned 18. Here's an OnlyFans, but you had dudes on waiting lists, grown men waiting to sign up to watch provocative photos or videos of them, of these little kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I made an argument. What's the difference between them being 18 doing it and them being 13 or 12? Because if you would have said that was the legal age, the guys would have did the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that was stopping him was the quote unquote legal age. But clearly, these guys were already into them, and they looked like children.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally like the attraction was not to adulthood, it was to the idea of accessing a sexualized child legally. Their
Mm-hmm.
childlike aesthetic was part of the appeal. Lower the legal age limit, you're not going to see any shift in their behavior. It's going to be the same thing. That's the desire, and the stats are literally showing it that is the desire. When they're telling you that 1 in 4 girls are going to be sexually assaulted in their lifetime, that's a pretty high number. When they're telling you over 93% of the perpetrators are male, that is something we need to pay attention to. But this isn't like one set of data that's doing this. It's CPS, it's Department of Justice, the CDC. They're all using patterns and they're all compiling the data to let you know how bad it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then they tell you that 76% of the perpetrators are family members. The
So,
men want to do it.
so men want to do it.
The
Now,
appeal is the youth, unfortunately.
mm, mm. All right, I got a couple ways I want to take this, but let's start here. What do you say to the folks who are, I was gonna say detractors, but I don't think they're detractors. But what would you say if people are like, well, men have always done this. This is historic, where men come in and they decide to choose younger brides. And we've seen this throughout history, where men will marry 13 and 14, 15-year-old girls. And it's a part of culture. We still see it in various different cultures, even today.
Yeah.
Um, what are your thoughts on that?
It's the predatory nature in it. That's what it is. It's clear cut. These guys, they are predators, and they want the thrill of basically taming an animal. But in this case, it's taming a child,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what it is. They want to be able to mold that child into what they want to be, which is essentially going to be a sex doll,
Mm-hmm.
something that they can abuse, something that they can control.
Right. Right. Okay. And do you think that there's a level of perversion there?
Hell yeah.
Okay. And what is that? Because I'm gonna ask a question. I'm gonna put myself out there. I have a friend. I have a
Wait,
friend.
ask your question. I want to hear your question.
Well, all right. So I'm gonna give some context to it. I think that men in general, I think part of our nature is to seek out youth within women. Now I said women specifically because I'm
Yeah.
not talking about little girls.
Mhm.
And you hear things like girls turn 18 every day. We heard that last night. Girls
Oh,
turn 18 every day.
I heard that.
um, and you hear we live in the life. And I'll be honest with you, man. Since I've been single, I'm approaching my 40s, man. Like I don't, I have, and I will continue to date younger chicks. Man, when I say younger, I'm talking like I go down to about 24. That's probably like my cap, because at that point they're usually wrapping up college around that point, right? So
Mhm.
24 years old is like where I'll start, and then where I'll go up to, it depends on who it is, because I cap that up to, but I ain't gonna go that far. We're gonna talk about the young women. So, like, I've been called a groomer because I have pursued publicly a 24-year-old. Right
Mhm.
now, that's fascinating to me because I'm like, where's this coming from? Now, it's mostly been from other women. Let's be clear, it's
Of
been
course.
from other women, but it's like she's a legal adult. Um, make our own decisions, all that good stuff. But for some reason, as men, we do tend to like younger women. That's just a part of our nature. Now, I have standards and morals. I don't go beyond like the 18, or I don't even, honestly, a 20-year-old is probably too young too, because I'm just like, man, I don't know about that. But even like, I think about some of the more recent things that have taken place, like celebrity based things that have taken place. Like we seen Little Tay recently. We seen the Bad Baby thing happen. I think maybe a year or two ago. But even just like this Floyd Mayweather situation, where that 19-year-old streamer, I don't even know her name, but she's a very pretty young lady, and she was streaming, and she was in a space, and Floyd Mayweather and his crew was there, and Floyd Mayweather sent one of his guys to come and like get her number, and that caused a big stir in a lot of black YouTube where people are like, "Oh, he's a predator. He's trying to get this girl." Now, technically, she's legal. Also, how does he know how old she is when she's just a pretty girl walking through a restaurant streaming, right? So like they went down the road of like, oh, he's a groomer, he's all this and that, and he might be because he got a lot of kids and a lot of women, right? He might be,
That's all right.
but we have to figure out there is a level of attraction to younger women, but there also is this question of morality and this question of what is too young and who's too young for who. And we see it all the time. We see older men who date younger women. Another current example, Coach Greg Adams. He just got into the debate with Andrew Wilson. And one of the things Coach Greg Adams has been famous for talking about is going to the JUCO. Like, just date younger women. If you're a man and you're older, you're single, you got means, just date younger women. This tends to cause a big stir. Now, I don't want to mix dating younger women with abusing children,
Yeah.
but there are a lot of people who do that.
Mm-hmm.
So can you talk a little bit about that nature of what's going on when the male psyche or just male nature, we'll say male nature, where there is attraction to younger women per se?
So this goes into the DOJ's data, where they tell you that 1 in 9 girls under 18 will face sexual abuse. And it goes to the U.S. statistics where they tell you basically 1 in 4 women across the board will face sexual abuse in their lifetime. And it's sad, real talk. But you have quite a lot. I know I've personally met people, and I gotta say people, who have faced this situation being 19 years old. It's not just, hey, she was 7, she was 10, she was 12. Some go to 19, some go to 15. Some, unfortunately, have reached the age of 40 and had to face this. And again, the perpetrators were men. And I don't want to just say they're like sexual deviant, but that's what's in my head.
Mm-hmm.
They be in the urge, can't control themselves. But then we start creating these excuses. That's what happens when we're talking about, let's say, the women. What do they say? She's not even 25. She's not even emotionally mature.
Yeah, her brain's not done developing.
Yeah. So hint, I have my own. I use that age range. I use 25. Hint, you can't have an argument. Okay, she's 25. Her brain's mature, and she's legally an adult. She fits all the criteria. So you can't really say nothing. Mm-hmm. And of course, you're still going to hear some clap back and try to. You see how they get on Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, another example. Yeah.
But right now, he was just seen with a 19-year-old. And we can easily say, hey, she's a grown adult. She wanted it. But she's still at an age where, this dude's a powerful dude. He can absolutely groom her.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's willing to go to 19, what's stopping him from going younger? Like, I'm obviously outside just the law and presentation, but I always see, like, when you go to, like, if you're 36, 40 years old, and you're like, hey, I'm going to get with me an 18-year-old because she's legal. Well, what the hell is the difference between her being 18 and 16? They essentially look the same.
Mm-hmm.
And then in some states, it is legal to be going with a 16-year-old.
That is true.
So then what's stopping you from being with a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old? Like, they use the laws to justify being attracted to a minor.
Mm.
That's what you see, and that's what doesn't get called out.
Have you ever heard of a man by the name of Glendon Cameron? He was a YouTube
No.
creator.
No.
Pretty popular YouTube creator. I don't know. I don't even know if he still makes content. I'll check here after I ask my question. But talked about business. He was famous for doing storage unit flipping. Is like flipping storage units. So like apparently, I don't know if you know about this, but like apparently people who don't pay their storage bills, their stuff ends up getting auctioned off, and people come in, they'll pay like $50 for a storage unit, not knowing what's inside of it, and then they'll try to sell and flip what's inside. So he became, I don't know if you ever heard of the show Storage Wars. But he became
No.
pretty popular on stuff doing that type of stuff down in Georgia. So that he turned that into a YouTube career and eventually started talking about other business ventures, etc. And a couple of years ago, this might have been 2020, 2021. He was telling like he was starting to get into like this dating bread pill talk a little bit, and he told a story about he was a bull pretty much. And for those who don't know what a bull is, it's a black man who is sometimes hired, sometimes not, to pretty much have sex with a white woman, typically white. Now they could be other ethnicities, but they're usually white. So he was a bull. He was a bull in this situation. And this woman that he was a bull for, and there was no man involved. A lot of times people are bulls and they're like doing the cuck thing. But there was no man involved. It was this woman, and he said that this woman had him at her house, and then the woman had invited her daughter in, and the daughter was like 16 years old or something. She was like 15 or 16. It was like she wasn't 18. She was below 18. So he tells this story on YouTube, and like everybody was like, "Yo, hold on, what the fuck? Like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you doing?" And it ended up kind of crashing a little bit of his following because people had to make a decision. Are you guys going to support this PDF, or are you guys going to take the moral road and say no, we're not backing this guy, we're not supporting it? And he stood 10 toes down. He said, "Yo, her mom was there. It was consensual. It was in Georgia where the consent laws are 16." And I proceeded to have a threesome with both of them, and I was like, "Wow!" Like it was crazy. He lost a lot of subscribers. He ended up having to like shift the name of his channel and all types of stuff. It was like a big thing online. What do you think about this story? Because that was crazy. He was like, the mom was consenting. She was 16. This was in Georgia. It's okay. And at the time, he was probably in his like mid 30s or something, early 30s. Yeah, that's how crazy this stuff gets. I'm gonna see if he's still around. I unsubscribed around that time. Glendon Cameron. Yeah. See if he's still out here.
I'm glad that some people unsubscribed, but at the end of the day, you're still going to have the vast majority of men defending it. It was legal. The mom agreed to it, and that's what they're going to say, because men love to defend pedophilia. They love to defend sexual assault or ignore it.
Yeah, even Anton covered it. Go ahead, continue.
Like it. That's something I stand strongly firm on, because it constantly happens. And you have everything from CPS records, juvenile court statistics, hospital data, national surveys that literally show an echo of this pattern. People going to defend that, man. I have a problem with that, because we're not letting the kids be kids, and we're not protecting the kids. We're so busy trying to groom them, trying to manipulate them, trying to sexualize them, that we're making it so normal that we defend damaging behavior.
Why do you say it's damaging? And I'm asking that question that way for a reason, because I want you to give your perspective. Not that I'm saying it's not.
No, you're fine.
What are your no? I'm being clear for the audience, not you.
Oh, my bad.
I'm not no damn predator. But why do you say that it's damaging? What have you seen? What what is your perspective on why this is damaging?
Because so you have victims out here, people I personally know, but then there's people you hear stories about. And there was the one gentleman. This guy talked about how he was young and how he was assaulted by male figures in his household. And one day he got in trouble and he got sent to juvie. And that's when the sexual abuse stopped. And then then when he got out of juvie and had to go back home, the sexual abuse started again by the grown men in his life, the men that were quote unquote supposed he should have been able to trust. And then he realized that if I get in trouble and go to juvie, I'll be protected. That's how his mind was working. And so he would keep getting in trouble to go to juvie so he wouldn't be sexually assaulted at home. And eventually, again, he turned 18, was able to get away, but he ended up going to jail. But of course, he got assaulted, which he admitted. And once he got out, he wanted to go and start spreading awareness and whatnot, because he had to find a way to get healed because of his mental state. He was broken because these men in the house were tearing him up, and he was trying to get away. And his safe space was getting in trouble and getting sent away to juvie. But we'll constantly say, if you've been assaulted, why didn't you just go to the police? Why didn't you just go somewhere and get help? But your emotions are heightened. You're not completely thinking, as we would say, rational. How can you ask somebody that? Because it's heightened trauma. It's heightened trauma that quite literally is fracturing your mind and how you're supposed to think. So you're just trying to do whatever you can to get away from the situation. And again, I have plenty of stories, unfortunately, of people going to the police either not doing nothing about it, not believing them, or joining in on the action. So that ain't actually an option. But these people become broken in the mind. And so, and it's not just like, again, it's isolated incident. The more you talk to people, you realize how bad it is. I know a woman, she's in her 40s, and she's still living her life as a 12-year-old because if she smells the scent of the dude that abused her, she breaks down. So even decades later, it still haunts people. I know a woman who doesn't like walking up staircases because she's almost 50, but it reminds her of when she was 8 years old, all over again. So that crap comes back to you. Right. And people who haven't experienced it don't understand, and they show a huge lack of empathy and sympathy for people who just have these vicious memories and sensations that constantly flood them. That's why I say that they're broken.
I don't know how much research you've done on trauma, but have you ever heard of the term adverse childhood experiences, ACEs?
I have, yes.
So for folks who don't know what ACEs are, adverse childhood experiences, you may also, if you Google it, you may also see something called adverse community experiences. That's where they're taking the work now. But ACEs is ultimately, it's a study that was done in the 1990s by two medical doctors that studied obesity. And what they found out is most of their clients, they found this out in the 80s, most of the clients that had chronic obesity also had some level of abuse in their history. So they teamed up with the CDC. They teamed up with Kaiser Permanente, which is a medical system on the west coast of the United States. And these two doctors were from UCal Berkeley, and they created what was now known as the ACE study. And they surveyed over 17,000 participants who had this Kaiser Permanente insurance. And they found out that, oh shit, 1/3 of most Americans, based off this survey,
Mhm.
experienced some level of abuse as a child. This became a big thing, and this study is still used today as one of like the principal studies to help understand this thing called trauma. So I bring all that up because one of the most important pieces of this understanding around trauma is how it impacts your brain development. And you talked about this lady and how you said she's 50.
Yeah,
And when did her abuse happen? Roughly? How old was she? From what you know.
quite a couple years, but let's say 7 through 15.
Okay. Yeah. So and she had chronic, continuous abuse.
Yeah,
But even at 7 years old, at have that level of abuse at 7 years old, and then to be 50 and still have those what they call triggers. Now, of course, in this woke world we live in, we don't like to use the word triggers. We like to use activated. She has these activations at 50 years old from the experiences that she had at 7. So what happens to the 7-year old brain and what's going on is that her brain is learning to respond to the stress and trauma in her life. Literally, her brain is being wired around survival. Our brains have what's called the synapse connections in it. It's literally like it looks like a tree branch. If I was prepared to talk about this, I would put up a little graph or whatever. But the
uh,
connection pieces of our brain, we start to go through what's called a pruning process when we go through puberty. So just like our bodies go through puberty, our brains do as well, and our brains start to prioritize what it needs for survival. So if you're 7, 8, 19 years old and you've been abused, or you're in a high stress situation, highly mobile, homeless, a lot of violence, sirens going off outside all the time, and a lot of stimuli, your brain is literally developing itself to protect the body, the nervous system in that type of environment. So you're technically not having a what we would call a normal brain development, or well, with somebody who doesn't have that level of stress or that level of adversity that they're dealing with. So this lady went from 7 to 17 dealing with with this trauma. Her brain is literally developing into it. And since people like to use their brain science, well, the woman's brain's not done developing until 25 years old. Well, once her shit was done cooking, she had all that trauma that she responded to. And then you add 25 more years onto her life that she's been in this high level, hyper vigilant, high level of stress kind of response most of her life, which is insane, right? So our brains, on the side of our brains, we have what is called our limbic system. Our limbic system is like the alarm system for our bodies. So this lady's amygdala, which is inside your limbic system, is hyperactive all the time. She sees a flight of stairs, her brain goes to, I'm about to get hurt. Something might happen to me. We have people who are living like this all the time from abuse and neglect. And it's something that we definitely need to pay attention to, which is crazy. So, sorry to just hop on a soapbox, but I
no,
want to give
that's
some
good.
context to what you were talking about.
So hence,
Um,
this is where I go in and bring up the perpetrators, though, because the perpetrators are men overwhelmingly. They're causing these levels of trauma. And then you'll have the women talking about how they don't feel protected, they don't feel safe. You have a woman who I just described, she's got a mentality like that, but then you'll have guys feeling some type of way, offended, like, why wouldn't you trust us?
mhm.
Why the hell should she? Just, I mean, got to be keeping 100. Why should she?
I don't
If
know.
she's a child into a teen and seeing that it's grown men over 30 that's not protecting her, why should she? Hold on.
No problem. So to answer Lionel's question, why should she? That's a good question. And this is where I think me and Lionel's conversations took a little deeper of a dive. Is like we do have to understand why a lot of women feel the way they feel around men and about men. It's because this level of threat is always present, whether they've experienced or not. It's there, and I think that as a man who hasn't perpetrated any woman, and I don't see this like in my personal life all the time. There's been experiences that I've had, but I don't know a lot of victims who outwardly talk about their victimization. It's easy to glaze over it and to not think of it. Now, as a father, it comes across my mind all the time because I have daughters. Even if I had sons, it probably would come across my mind, but probably not as prevalent as it does when I have with my daughters. And I allow my daughters to go to the park by themselves because it's not too far. Go to the gas station because it's not too far. They can go stay the night at their friends' houses and things like that. And for the most part, most of their friends do have, dads in the home and stuff. I know these parents, I know these people, but that doesn't mean that they won't be violated. Now, I do always talk to my kids and check in with them, like what's going on. I ask them a lot of questions, use a lot of my professional background to just see if they're open enough to talk to me about what's happening, if anything goes on. But that still doesn't stop them from being violated, right? And so it's always in the back of my mind that this is a possibility for something that they can experience. But I also don't want to cage them and shelter them and not allow them to live their lives and have some level of experience in the world due to this heightened nature of being victimized. So, welcome back, Lionel. Go ahead. I was just sharing
So
the
the one
context.
thing I want to add to what I was saying is that one thing that almost universally they have in common. You talk to a 10-year-old boy, an 8-year-old boy who's been assaulted. He's going to let you know that that grown man was telling him, now you're a real man. Or this is what you deserve. These girls who are in the single digits that are being abused, they're told, now you're a real woman. And they're told by other adults, you deserved what happened to you, or it's your fault that this happened. These are traumatic experiences that are happening, and in their weakest moments or most vulnerable, that idea, that inception is put into their brain. And that's another thing that people don't quite understand, because now that's also adding another layer of psychological trauma to the experience they've already had. You're on mute.
Yeah, I realized that. Sorry about that. Um, I was able to pull up a clip. I think this is the right clip of that man that I brought up earlier, Glendon
Mhm.
Cameron, sharing. It's not that long of a clip. Hold on one second. This because the link that I copied over in this link, I thought it was a little longer of a clip than that. I think this is it. So there's a bunch of people responding to it, but I'm trying to find. Oh man, I think this is it. I forgot the Anton response. This is probably actually how I found Anton. Um, was him responding to Glendon Cameron. Because I'll be honest with you, man. I used to listen to a lot of Glendon Cameron stuff on business,
Mhm.
but when this thing came, and then I was also like, man, why are you even talking about this? Well, you should just stay in your business bag, because now it got you looking real crazy, real fucking crazy.
I like children who haven't.
All right, can you hear that?
I'm ready. Yeah, I hear it.
All right.
I like children who haven't reached the age of puberty. Did you see me cry? Did you see me whine?
Did you see me act like a little bitch?
Like, to me, rape is when you literally force a woman to do something that she doesn't want to do. That's rape. I didn't do that. And the little one, the youngest girl, because they were both under 20, the younger one had the tightest pussy. And when I had to fuck her, it would hurt because she would run from the dick. She would like, oh. And I was like, don't run, don't run. And then once I got it in, then she started throwing that pussy. So once again, how is that rape?
All right, so that was a cut up clip from him talking about it. Now, I remember when he put the video out because I was like, "Wow, I can't believe this motherfucker is actually saying this shit." It was probably like a 12-minute video. Obviously, they chopped it up, but even with what they chopped up, it's giving you context. Like that
Yeah.
shit was crazy, and it set off like a firestorm because people were like, "Whoa, what the fuck?" And now that I just re-listened to it, it wasn't the mom and one girl; it was two daughters. So he pretty much had a fucking orgy with his family, but the two girls were under 20. Now, one of the girls was, I remember this from the story. One of the girls was like 15 or 16 years old. She had to be like 16. Because I remember the argument was, well, she's legal in Georgia, but everybody was like, bro, she's fucking 16, and this family's already fucked to even bring you in to do this type of shit. So yeah, it was insane. But what? Any thoughts on that clip?
He meant it. He meant it. I mean, his body language was literally telling you he meant it. He didn't see nothing wrong with what he was doing. Dang. But hey, he's unfortunately saying what a lot of dudes be thinking, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, it's very prevalent. I don't know, man. I just think that's sick. Like this,
and professionals that are involved in that can tell you how these moms essentially be inviting men into their homes to assault their daughters.
And
then they blame the daughters for it.
I've seen tons of videos on YouTube like that. I've seen moms fight their daughters because of the suspicion that they slept with their boyfriend. Have you ever came across that?
Yeah, it's not something I want to say a frequent one, but I have heard a couple stories. I want to bring up how they talked about in 2022 with Child Protective Services and how they brought up how they could confirm 25,000 girls were sexually assaulted and how a little over 6,000 boys were sexually assaulted and how over 50% of the victims were under the age of 6. Under the age of 6. And then they tell you that you're at risk for things repeating again from ages 12 to 17 for girls. And then they tell you the perpetrators. 76% were parents or guardians. And the 90% ratio fell into the men. But that fell in line with Department of Justice statistics. So basically, out of the almost 400,000 cases of children, they tell you that 8.2% of them were confirmed to meet the legal explanation for abuse. But they also let you know that while that number, some people try to gloss over it and be like, okay, that's kind of a small number. They tell you that over 90% of this, they couldn't substantiate simply because the kids were too afraid to talk. They were too afraid to say anything. So you could only get a minority of them that they could actually get the evidence for.
Let me ask you a question. From your perspective, where are we failing young people the most? Is it at home? Is it at school? Is it in digital spaces? And what's the blind spots that adults aren't willing to admit?
The most is at home. We're failing the most at home. Absolutely. Because that's where most of it's happening. There is a misconception about strangers. And yet it's like, I don't got that in front of me, but it's like very minute stat where strangers are the ones that are abusing these children. It starts at home. It's happening dominantly at home. And the parents don't care the way they like to pretend they do. It's like I say, most parents give their children a roof to sleep under, but they're not actually raising them. They're not actually protecting them. When I talk to parents, I ask them, and it offends a lot of them, but I'd be dead serious. And I'd be asking, when's the last time you've actually done a survey to see what registered sex offenders are in your area?
Yeah, you asked me that question
And you
about a
don't,
month or two ago.
and these parents don't have an answer. Some
Yeah,
might lie, and you can generally tell when they're lying, but they don't have an answer.
yeah. Most
When's
don't
the,
even know where to look. Where do you look?
yeah, hold on. And I also asked, oh, maybe mess up. I also asked, just point direct. When the last time you asked your child if they've been abused? Just point blank, and just watch their body language. And that was a question that my mom would ask all three of us all the time. Has someone been touching you? Have you been touched? Just point blank. And the reality is, the parents aren't asking that. There is a site online, by the way, to answer your question. My bad. You can go and look up. Essentially, we're just registered sex offenders in your area, and it will give you, because they're going to tell you point blank, yeah, that dude across the street, yeah, he one of them, and they're going to give you the information also on what they did, so you know. Unfortunately, because a lot of people aren't looking at it, they don't know. And then you have, when I talk to more than enough men who, I don't see this in my everyday life. And because they don't see it in their everyday life, which again sounds weird, they make it sound like they're just walking home and they're supposed to see a girl or a little boy getting assaulted in the woods. When again, the data shows that this is happening dominantly at home. This is what happens behind closed doors. And the parents are failing the kids, but at the same time, the parents are the perpetrators. And if you have a bad reputation, in a sense, that also gets glossed over. And I want to bring up Melissa Ford, because I know how she's getting treated right now. But she brought up a story about how it was either 8 or 11, one of them, and how one of her father's friends tried to assault her in the house. But I saw so many comments with guys saying they don't believe her. Just point blank. No benefit of doubt. I mean, just point blank, I don't believe her. Why would that happen? Why would the dad allow her have a friend that would do something like that? And it's like these dudes are asking asinine questions. When you see that 93% of the convicted people, the perpetrators, are male. And you have numerous stats all lining up with the pattern that shows that the men are overwhelmingly abusing these girls, especially if you're older. You definitely want yourself a little girl, because that's what they're going after. So it absolutely starts at the home. Home is the problem, but the problem is the parents are the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm not gonna tell that. I'm not gonna tell that story. Salute to John Go in the building. What's up, John? I know somebody who was touched inappropriately by a family friend, and when they told their parent did not believe them. Um, their parent pretty much said, "You don't need to be telling anybody what happened."
Yep.
And then when they went to report it, they went to the police station. They sat in the parking lot with another grown adult friend. The
Mm-hmm.
mom turned to this young lady and said, "This is your last time. Are you gonna go in there and tell them what happened, or are you gonna do the right thing?" And the girl was, I think, 19 years old at the time. She just remained silent in the back seat. They pulled out and left the police station. No one said nothing. Nothing happened. And it's like those are the moments that take place all the time, where the abuse takes place. The kid or even adult picks up on something, never says anything about it. It's a very interesting thing. I do have somebody who wants to weigh in on this. Vance is about to come. Be cool with that? I don't know if he has a question for you or something he wants to add.
Do
I'm
we
gonna
like
bring.
we like him?
I like Vanta,
Okay.
but,
Can we okay,
but
just make sure he ain't
we're
gonna mess
gonna
up.
keep. No. I'm gonna keep the comment because I'm not doing a full panel. I want to keep it
Okay, okay.
concise. So we'll let him up for a little bit. Let him weigh in and ask questions or share some comments, and then
Okay.
we'll cycle him out. But what's up, Vanta?
Salute, Universal. Should I call you
Salute.
Brandon or Universal?
You can call me Universal. It's fine. You good?
And salute to Lionel.
Good
Salute,
morning.
sir. Good, yeah, good afternoons from the UK, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I just want to say real quick. I understand the topic, and it's very, very heavy. So I'm not trying to be funny. I think I had family relatives who went through this situation, and I think I think when families are transitioning from a single mother household to a new stepfather, because one thing my father told me is like, if I leave the household and you have a new man in the house, make sure to protect your sisters. That's what my father told me. Protect your sisters, because a new man in the household is a different ball game, different dynamic. That man is not the father of the daughters in the house. So you have to be extra vigilant. And I think a lot of abuses have been going on because of you know stepfathers in a new home, and also I'm saying that that also happens within bloodlines too. It doesn't have to be a stepfather or a stepmother. Even within bloodlines, that happens. But usually, it is the stepfather that creates the whole situation where children being abused in a household. Like, do you agree, Mr. Lionel? Like, and outside,
Statistically,
yeah,
statistically, you're absolutely correct. And I'm gonna tell you right now, there is the what is the number? It is 7 to 10 times more likely the child will be abused by a step parent when compared to living with a biological parent. Um, the what is it in this country? The United States Department of Health and Human Services did a whole research about it, but they also did one with the public health and criminology. And what you're saying is absolutely right, but it's stepfathers, mother's boyfriends, casual partners, or unrelated male roommates. But what
correct.
you're saying is right.
Correct, because they have no loyalty to that child. There's no blood. There's no blood ties. There's no blood loyalty. All they see is a young, flourishing. God, I have to be careful. I have to be careful with my words. It is a young, growing individual that's easy to exploit. Lionel, like they have, like, a true father would protect their child, right? Like blood, that's your blood, that's your child, you want to protect. But an outsider just sees a opportunity. I know that sounds disgusting, but am I correct, Lionel?
That's the reality. That is
Yeah.
literally reality. Is also one of the reasons why I personally have a problem when people are talking about relationship situations and they're like, "Hey, if you're a parent if you're a single parent, you got a kid, you should only date another parent who has a kid." And I'm not saying I don't understand the logic, but I've lived in scenarios personally where I've seen that the kids of the other parent also have no loyalty. And so I've personally seen the victims of the kids trying to touch the other kids inappropriately because they don't have loyalty. So you're also having to worry about not just the stepfather and whatnot, but the kids who don't have loyalty either. And some of them have learned bad behaviors, unfortunately.
Correct. And also, I just want to make things clear. It's not always the stepfather, but also stepmothers are diabolical too. I'm
Yeah,
just saying, like, yeah.
yeah.
hmm Yeah, and because I had friends, but back in the past, like they explained the situation, and I felt sick to my stomach, Lionel. You know, like the step parenthood can lead to a child being just more confused, more damaged,
Hmm.
and what was the old saying? Universal, the abused becomes the abuser. It's like
Yeah, that's like
yeah, it's like a cycle. It's a cycle,
mhm.
and that's why I think this topic is very important to address, and maybe it could help anyone who's listening. It could help, you know, end the cycle, end the cycle.
Yeah,
That's my
and
point.
I'm pretty sure we have viewers and folks in these spaces that have been abused themselves, or they are around people that have been abused. CT has like 13,000 subs. John Gulp's almost at 2,000. All these other channels we follow, the Hamps, all these folks, man, there's thousands of people. I'm pretty sure we have folks that have been abused themselves or around people and abusers. Let's not get it twisted. Given the statistics, some of those people have abused on children as well. So it's fascinating. What else you got, Vanta? Any other thoughts, questions, comments?
I just want to ask, yeah, because hmm, I had a few thoughts, but I think let me recollect because I had a few questions for Lionel. I think overall, I think Lionel, like, what's your best advice, like, regarding young men, young women, young ladies living under a step parent household? Like, what's the best advice? Like, should they be more alert? Because sometimes they can't trust the step parent because they are great step parents, by the way. There's
Yeah.
amazing step parents. Like, it's hard to discern. It's hard to discern. How could it, well, okay, that's my question. How can they discern what's a good step parent and what's a bad step parent? That's my
They can't.
question.
Unfortunately, they can't because at this point, even profiling is becoming outdated when it comes to trying to figure out who these sexual abusers are because it's becoming so layered. And
Mm,
so it's like it can be anyone at any time. And
right.
you don't know the role that they're playing simultaneously. Try to be aware, try to stay alert, get these little girls and little boys trained at an early age to protect themselves. Like real talk.
What does that mean? What does that look like?
Yeah. Before I head out, I need to learn. Yeah, I need to know. Like, can you define it, sir?
So like my sister was 7 and I was telling her about human trafficking and she started laughing about it. And I said, "Oh hell no." And so me and my mom started showing her videos on human trafficking, showing her how to be aware, how to be alert. By the time she was 13, my mom was showing her how to use a Glock. You need to protect yourself, how to use a taser. By the time she was 18, my brother was trying to teach her martial arts because she's about to go out into the world. But we was also teaching her how to profile people to the best of our abilities and how to analyze, how to talk, how to get the right words to come out of their mouth, but from a female perspective. So we was putting it in her head and how to train her not to be Xena warrior princess, but just to be able to protect yourself in the world. There are other ways, but at the end of the day, chaos happens and you never know what can happen. And just because you have step parents in the environment, that doesn't mean something bad's gonna happen. But I've also seen children of the step parents take action when you least likely expect it.
When you say
Right.
take action, are you saying they're perpetrating on the
Yes,
victim?
the children are the perpetrators.
Right. I mean,
Gotcha.
Universal. I appreciate for having me on. I think that answer was great. I know some people think, oh, that's too extreme, but that answer was perfect, and I
Got
think
it.
I have no issues with that. But yeah, thank you, Universal,
Okay.
and salute to you, Lionel.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
salute,
you.
man. Thanks for coming up, Vanta. Take care, bro. That was Vanta. My step by relation's cousin through Somalis.
I am glad you brought up the stepfather. That was not on my list of things to bring up. That was a
Mm,
good
mm,
because statistically, unfortunately, that stat is pretty high when it comes to them.
mm, mm. Got it. Yeah, the baddie's coming out now. Good morning, Mooncake. Oh Lord. Um, let's see. Oh, they have a question. Daniel Nixon. Did I hear about the Aziz? I think that's Kabibi. I did hear a little bit about it. I don't know much about him and his girl's dynamic. It involved Myron, so it was one of those things I just said, I don't know, I'll check it out later. But I'll see. I don't know what all the fuss is about. Apparently, she's out here playing games with this Indian man's heart, I think. So it is what it is. If anybody else wants to weigh in on this, let me know. I'm not gonna do a full open panel. I will send you the link if I got you. Just say something in the chat, like give me the link. You can definitely come up and share some information. Um, but we are talking about something that doesn't get covered a lot, which is child abuse and how prevalent it is. Lon, I wanted to ask you about another element to this, and this is probably going to be a show in itself, and then we can bring up some news clips.
Go for it.
But we have seen a rampant level, I don't know if it's an increase or just an awareness of female teachers being busted having sex with male students. And me and you've had a pretty in-depth
Mhm.
conversation about how men have responded to this. And oh shit. I'll come back to that in a second, day, Nixon. Damn. No, I did not hear about that part. But how men have responded to this newfound kind of predatory behavior. And it's probably the newfound. This has probably been happening, but we just have cameras and social media and people getting
Yeah.
caught now. And but there seems to be a increased volume of teachers having sex with these young boys. And you and me, we've seen this. I think we may have been in some similar circles where men were like, yo, what's going on with him? He must be packing. You know, he's
Yep.
banging his teacher. Like, if that was my son, I'd give him a high five. And like, I wish I had badass teachers like that I could smash on. Like, dudes are actually thinking that it's cool for a 27-year-old girl to fuck a seventh grader.
And I have a problem with that because these men will sit here and that is their way of justifying abuse. And I could care less how any guy takes that when it comes out of my mouth. That is their way of justifying abuse. Because when you have that 35-year-old teacher smashing this 13-year-old little boy and they're giving that boy a high five, they're praising him. It's no different than when that 35-year-old man is eyeing that 13-year-old girl
Mm-hmm.
because they want that to be acceptable. But the women ain't exactly high-fiving that. I know if I was 13, 14 and telling my mom, yo, I just smashed this 35-year-old, she would have shot her
Mm.
because sexual abuse, point blank. But that is not how the men are taking it. They are high-fiving sexual abuse, essentially. They're praising it. They're championing it.
Mm.
And that is something that needs to stop. That's something I've also been speaking out on because that shit needs to stop.
Yeah, it's very common. I hear a lot about how like dudes like, man, I was fucking on my babysitter. There was a video that went viral. I think I might have shared it with you, where the dad was checking. Matter of fact, let me pull that up because this is a good example of what we're talking about. If I can find it, fuck. Where the dad was checking the girl who had slept with the son. I was like, what the fuck? That wasn't too long ago. Dang. Man, there's been so much shit. That's why I was like, we gotta categorize this stuff. Um, I don't think I'm gonna find it quick enough. But long story short, there's a video that went viral where this babysitter was his babysitter was getting checked by a dad. Now the dad must have been a single dad because he had a little baby. Baby was probably about maybe a year old, and then there was a son also there. And in the video, you see him talking to the babysitter, and he's telling her like, "Yo, like you had sex with my son. I caught you having sex with my son." And she was like, "He's a able-bodied man. What's wrong with that? He's here. I'm here. What do you expect is gonna happen?" And she was like, "That's inappropriate." And then she was like, the girl was like, "Well, should I be fucking on you?" And he said that would have been better. I was like, "Whoa." I mean, do you remember the clip I'm talking about?
I man, you be selling a lot. That's definitely
Man,
got.
let me find this. I gotta find this clip. I thought I fucking put it. Damn. See, I should have prepped better. Anyway,
You're
I'll
fine.
find it. I'll find it. That shit was wild though. I was like, wow, because he was pretty much like, nah, well, shit, if he's gonna be fucking anybody up in this house, it should be me. I was like, whoa. So now he done flipped the script and pretty much became like a, um, like if you got that pussy, if somebody's getting that pussy up in here, it's me. That's what he was on. Like that's crazy.
I want to add to Vanta real quick because he
Go
asked
ahead.
him. I want to add to that though what I said because, like I said, a lot of the stuff is happening in the home, and
In the folder.
parents aren't protecting their children. But it's the social circles, the workplace, the communities. We're not challenging these situations. And what I mean by that, we're not questioning suspicious adults. We're not normalizing the conversations. And it's like all we're doing is giving predators space to operate. That's all we're doing. Because we're staying silent. And I don't want to make it sound like it's a woman's issue, it's a child's issue. I mean, small. It's an issue, but you have the stats that are literally telling you. You looking at CPS data, 80% of the child sexual abuse victims are girls, and they are largely being inflicted by male perpetrators. And it's like, but the men don't want to talk about it. They literally sweep it under the rug, or they defend it, or they try to find some type of way to excuse it, because they'll say one thing like, "Oh, those are creeps," and then bam, that's the end of the conversation. That don't do shit. So it's definitely a more of an all-encompassing situation that doesn't get discussed. And one of the things I've also stated is that because so many victims are silent, it allows the perpetrators to continuously act. And I know people who just chosen not to say anything. And then it's like, well, dang, that means that demon is still out there making things happen because 40 of you chose not to say anything. How
I'm
about
trying to
that?
find
Oh,
trying to find this clip. I'm trying to find this clip. Trying to find the clip of the damn babysitter. I found it. I found it. I'm that nigga, man. Let's go. All right, give me a second. I probably have to fucking log in a Max account on Chrome. I don't use Chrome unless I'm streaming. It's gonna play it. Now this was eye opening to me for a couple of reasons. And I will play the clip in its entirety. Then I'll give an overview once we're done with it.
Your job, right? You here to watch my kids. You know that, right?
Oh yeah, I remember this.
You sleeping with my son. Why is you
I
sleeping
didn't
with my
even know
son?
that there was cameras in the house. Who said that I was sleeping?
How old are you? How old are you?
32.
You 32. You know how old he is? That is a little ass boy. Is you okay? You doing that shit in my house?
At the end of the day, he's
I
still a
could be
man.
locking your ass up. I
At
can
the end
call
of the day,
police
he's
and
still a
file a report on
man.
your ass.
He's still a man.
Somebody's
Go look
still
at
a
that
man.
man.
That's sick as fuck. That's sickening.
But if I was doing it with you, it wouldn't have been no
And yeah, I'm
problem.
grown as fuck. I'm grown as fuck. You should have been. That's what you should have been doing in the first fucking place, bro.
Okay.
Don't ever get near my son again. He's too fucking young for you. You know that, right? You grown as fuck. Stay the fuck away from him. You're not here for him. You're not here for
Then
him.
what do you have me here for? You have me watching a baby when there's a grown, able man back there that can watch his
He
own.
is a little ass boy. You talking about grown able man? What the fuck is wrong with you?
He can watch himself, right?
Yeah.
Okay, then.
That's what I'm saying, bro. That shit nasty. You think that's okay to do shit like that?
Oh, what do you want me to do? We just gonna sit here and what you go call the police? What?
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. It's easy.
Your thoughts, Lionel?
She sound like most of these men. That's what she sound like. Most of these men. That's exactly how they be talking.
There's a lot in that clip, man. You know, this is why I respect John. A lot of people don't rock with John, but people really don't truly know the nature of human beings until you are invited into their homes. And John sees this shit every day. I've seen it doing social work. You know, as a therapist, I've worked in various different systems where I've been in people's homes, or I've helped people get homes,
Mm-hmm.
or I've helped them pay their rent, or I've paid for funerals. I talk about that a lot publicly. Um, and when you're in this social service world, you really start to see the true nature of people. I also come from environments where this wasn't uncommon. This is like a fucking Tuesday morning in many places. Shit like this be going on, and you see this in people's houses. Or you go stay at night at your friend's house or your cousin's house, and you hear folks like this talking. You're like, damn, man, your brother fucked a babysitter. Like it's like this is just normal shit to people. Look how she's just sitting there patting the baby. Like, well, what are you gonna do? Like, yeah, I fucked him. He's a grown, able-bodied man in the back. What you gonna do? Like, this is where we're at, man. This is interesting, bro.
I almost can guarantee that she was touched as a child.
Probably so. Probably so. Probably so.
Not giving her an excuse by any metric, but it's just the consequences of how that happens.
And let's be honest, this is not just an ethnicity thing, a race
No,
thing.
not at all.
This conversation expands across ethnicities, but there are places and homes where this shit, like what we just watched, is very rapid. And then, yeah, I did catch this. I don't know about the situation. I thought you guys were talking about Myron and that dude from Flagrant Podcast, but you're talking about another person with a Muslim name. So I had to dig into some research. Maybe me and Lionel can cycle back on that later. But yeah, thanks for sharing it though. Apparently, this chick got pregnant by her dad. I was like, what the fuck? It's crazy.
It happens.
Mm-hmm.
I want to bring up the underreporting situation.
All right, let's go for it.
And I don't know if any of you are aware of what's happening, but they tell you that only 310 out of 1,000 sexual assaults are reported to the police. You can get this data from the Department of Justice. Of those 310 reports, only 50 leads to an arrest. Of those arrests, only 28 actually reach a felony conviction. And out of that 28, 25 see jail time. Child Protective Services tell us that a lot of these cases are dropped because of fear, lack of evidence, people being manipulated. And Department of Justice shows you that 70% of these cases occur at or near the victim's home. And 35% of women who are assaulted as minors are assaulted again as adults. What are your thoughts on this?
My thoughts on this is that those stats prove that this is a cycle. And when you are introduced to sex very early, I don't want to say you develop sexual deviancy, but you develop a high um how do I even term this? Your sex drive or your desire for sex becomes increased, and you're more open to different types of sexual experiences. You get engaged in sex a lot quicker, and a lot further. It's the same thing you see when kids are exposed to porn very early. Same thing you see with a lot of kids that are exposed to porn on the internet. Like their interaction with sex and the sexualized nature of people's development starts to become compromised. When you're victimized, sometimes you don't know if you are going to perpetrate on someone else because you want them to feel your pain, or you want to have and this is where it gets a little deeper, but you want them to have the same psychological experiences yourself. So a lot of victims were victim, or a lot of perpetrators were victims themselves. I think that's what that stat ultimately proves.
Like I keep saying, the these children are protected.
Mm-mm.
They're not protected.
Yeah.
And again, the very premise of this is only 310 out of every 1,000 sexual assaults are ever reported to the police. So that ends up telling you that 70% of all assaults remain silent, never documented, never counted in official statistics. And they tell you, when you interview children or grown adults after the fact, they're telling you that they was afraid. Retaliation, it was shame. Um, they felt they didn't have the language to describe it. And again, talking to people personally, they tell you it's their fault.
Yeah. It's not uncommon um, for anyone who goes through significant trauma to blame themselves. Children usually blame themselves for the things that happen in their lives. Even if it's like something crazy like the parents got divorced, children will blame themselves for the divorce. It's a very interesting concept. I think we grow out of that self blame to blaming the world, once we get a little older and our filters develop. But children will blame themselves for a lot of things that they did not do directly. Hmm.
And so I do have situations where I have talked. I brought it up before, and I'm gonna try not to say any names. But for people that's coming in, I've done work trying to help people, mentor some people, and it's generally through, or specifically through, abuse. I brought up earlier this boy, he was 19, who was sexually abused by his father, his stepfather, his mom. He was gang raped by 5 grown men. The boy was broken. I was helping out a girl. She was 17. Her mother's boyfriend abused her. She told the cops and her mom. Mom didn't believe her. Cops didn't do nothing. Helping out this lady. She was 40. Guy broke in her house, held her at gunpoint, abused her. Police didn't believe her when she told. Helped out another girl, 30. Multiple men have taken advantage of her. You can't even touch this girl without her screaming. She ended up going to jail just to feel safe. Sound like another story. Um, this other girl, 18, multiple men. They ganged up on her outside of the school and assaulted her. Girl had a black eye, broken arm. The cameras proved it was 6 men. No one was charged. Parents didn't believe her. Helping out this other girl. Girl was dragged into a closet at 15. 5 different boys had their way with her. Nobody did anything. This other girl, she had the struggling with the reality of going home. She also got jumped by 5 men. 5 is like a unlucky number for some reason. They assaulted her, mask on and off. Nobody did anything. Was helping out this girl. She was struggling with an abusive ex. She literally ran away from him across the country because of how bad he was abusing her. Was helping out this other girl at 19. She was abused by the son of her mom's boyfriend. And then she was touched by her mom's roommate. Mom didn't believe her. Grandma didn't believe her. Had a mental breakdown. She went to therapy, went to specialists, did not help. She tried to commit suicide numerous times. Was helping out another girl. Was being used as a sex doll by her older brother when she was 8. She didn't know about it. Later in life, she got abused, and it's messed her up all in the head. Know a girl personally, well, all personally, but she was family. She was trying to go home. Wallet stolen. Cop offered to help her out. He ended up handcuffing her, tying her up, raped her all night, then tossed her in the highway, still in the rope.
Jesus.
The girl's mind was broken, just screaming and crying at the sheer touch of a man. Another girl, 25, she's dealing with issues of abuse. She was a lesbian. She has super low self-esteem, but she is gorgeous. The problem is, a group of men decided to rape the lesbian out of her for hours, jumping her outside her place of work. Father and mom didn't believe her. Cops did nothing. This other girl, assaulted when she was in college. She's been through all types of therapy because of how it affected her, but she's messed up. Another lady, assaulted by her grandfather when she was a child. And it's messed up so much that she blacked it out for a minute. But reality has a way of showing you their scars. Was talking to another woman, which she was trying to grapple with the reality of being raped by her mom's boyfriend for 3 years, from 12 to 15. She tried to run away from home, tried to call the cops. Mom didn't believe her. Mom just put more mental abuse on her. The girl's 30 now, but she's still haunted by it. Was helping this other girl, been through several foster homes because the parents kept abusing her, trying to abuse her. Wasn't even 18 yet. This one dude, he's like 42. I was able to get him to open up about his abuse as a child. And I've been getting more men to open up actually about this. I definitely think my mom sees better results. There's a lot of people that don't feel protected out there. And there's a lot of predators out there. And there's a lot of people who have stories that they have tried to talk to, but people just didn't believe them. It is a consistent cycle because, hey, society doesn't actually take it as seriously as they try to make it out to be.
Yeah. You know, as you rode through all those victims, you know, it made me think, well, damn, how do they find Lionel? Does he have like a victim bat signal? How do they come to you? And then I think about the folks who don't come, who are continuously victimized or dealing with those memories and that pain that they've experienced over time. You know, I don't want to talk about strategies just yet because we're going to probably do a couple more episodes. But if you could give just some insight to people, like what can you do if you know someone who's gone through this type of situation? What have been some of your techniques or strategies you've utilized with some of these folks?
So I'm going to be honest. In a lot of cases, the people don't, if you can't relate, that also ends up being a problem. That's a barrier automatically. So that's literally off jump. If you don't know people or if you literally just can't relate, that barrier is going to be there. And any type of help you're really trying to give them, it's kind of just, you're talking to a wall. It's a wall with no front or back, but it's a wall there that it's automatic. It's gonna be hard to get to them. That's the problem, because they're gonna sense that there's a lack of empathy, there's a lack of sympathy, there's a lack of understanding. How would you know? How would you know what I'm experiencing? So that's automatically the situation. But I'm not saying that's an absolute though, because I'm not trying to be like, yo, you gotta have that experience to be able to talk to them. But a lot of people don't listen to understand. So that's the other issue. Gotta listen to understand. If they're telling you something as simple as, hey, I don't like going up a flight of stairs because it reminds me of this situation. And he's right, Vance is right. If they're telling you they don't like this smell because it reminds you of that dude that assaulted them. If they go past the street that it happened on, and they got to get there to go to work. There's no other way. Things like that. You got to be understanding. Because, I mean, again, that is one of the big solutions to talk about it. Because that's been the impediment. We don't talk about it. And so there is a lack of sympathy and empathy. And then you hear people come up here and let's say you express something happened, you got people point blank saying, I wouldn't tell people that, or you should have kept that to yourself. Now the problem consists.
Yeah, that silence, that encouraged silence, I think, is a part of the problem. Like, we got to be comfortable enough to have these conversations, or at least point them out when they happen, and have some dialogue about, okay, what do we do to protect ourselves, to let people know they are seen and heard as well, because a lot of them just aren't, and you don't know until it just rolls up on you and hits you, man. Like, there's been so many people that I know that have been, most of them have been children, but there's some abuses of those too, but children who
Think
just have been violated.
like
It's insane.
think of the stories on Discord or Instagram. How many stories have I been sending you? And dominantly their children.
Non-stop.
And that's it nonstop. And I follow pages who are trying to report this, and I be sharing them out. Um, Instagram loves blacklisting stuff though. Um, and then YouTube doesn't like to show it. You have to look for it.
Hmm.
Just like how, again, I showed you that situation with the predator that was trying to defend pedophilia. And this isn't a story that people generally heard about, but it's like, nah, this dude need to be exposed. Because he has groups of people just like that who are trying to stand up for it.
Hmm.
And even if it's not as verbally as he, that's why I point to the Lil Tay situation. Because that girl looks like she's 15. That girl looked like she just started high school. But you had guys, grown men, lining up, waiting, pre-ordering for her to get that OnlyFans. It's a predatory society we have. And when you try to call these guys out, they get defended.
Yeah. I don't think anybody is gonna sit there groomer outside of Glendon Cameron and tell the stories they did, but this shit's happening, man. There are people that we know who are doing this.
So
I don't. What?
So I highlight Vanta's last comment. Now, it's not always the answer, and I agree with that. Now, the problem with this is that in the real world, the real world is also just as damaging, because the people in the real world have been told it is your fault. There are too many children that have been told in real life that it's your fault that this happened to you. There is too many people that have been told that, hey, this happened because you was in the wrong place. Hey, you got to be held accountable. Real life is cruel as hell.
Right.
Like, and I get what he said, because it is not always the answer, but man, real life ain't always the answer either. Because talking to these people in real life, you realize how often these people cannot talk to their friends and family because most of them are the perpetrators.
Right. Yeah, and you never know. That's the other thing too. I think about it's like, well, how do you tell? It's not like they have some sort of tell sign. Well, maybe they do. Maybe you come across something different. But how do you recognize if somebody has been victimized? Can you recognize it?
And let me note that my strategy, and I've grown to create a strategy of just talking, because again, you see how brash I am when I'm talking in general. And so I just bring it up in conversation, casual conversation. Damn, you heard about those CPS numbers?
No. Was it from a particular state or just nationally?
No, no, no. That's how I talk to people
Oh, I thought you were
in real
asking me
life.
like,
That's what I be like. You heard them CPS numbers? Oh, and actually, to you, if you just go on Google, and you can show people if you want, but if you just type in literally Minnesota registered sex offenders list, I guarantee about 10 links are going to pop up right away, and some of them are going to literally be in your county. So you do that, it's going to just come up right away. And this is just for anybody who's actually curious about it, especially if you got kids, because they live around.
is there any specific link you tell people to go to? Is it the state link? Is
So
it
it depends. If you
a
want to go
national
into
registry?
if you go into basically, if you want to know by state, personally, I don't actually recommend that, only because I'm not trying to make people not want to go outside. But I generally tell people to look up their county, look up the county they're in, and that'll give you a clear indication of what's around. And it does, I mean, again, the links are going to come up right away. Oh, snap, man. He even said he expects something to come up. That's not good.
I don't know if I want to do it with the DOC. That's one a simple search locator.
I know if I do it in
Press red.
Georgia,
Oh,
I'm going to have like
freeze.
20 links come up.
We'll do it by zip code. Uh, 104. Check some Paul. Oh, damn. There you go. 21. Move date. So these are recent. Let's see if I know any of these people.
Oh, shit.
Michael Brown's code. Yes. Johnson. No, none of these names look familiar.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But
Photos.
everybody has a phone, and that's the thing. So many people have children. And don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking people for not doing it because, again, it's not talked about. That's the thing. That's why in talking and saying, hey, just a quick search, and everybody has a phone, it's going to come up, and it does get updated.
When I look at these guys, I mean, yeah, this is what I think Imperius looks like.
Uh-oh.
I'm not saying he's on the list. He just looks like a raged out white dude. And like, I don't think there's a particular profile, but these guys all look like I would give some side eyes to these guys.
Hence why you see the comments say the usual suspect.
Wow. It's
But yeah,
that
just
easy. It's that easy to search, folks.
like it really is, and that I just encourage more that who have children, and even if you don't have children, just look it up. There's a couple links you can utilize, take advantage of them. If you ever want to just look at the state, hold on.
Yeah, that's wild. You know, I don't know if there's a well, at least in where I live or near where I live. I don't know if there's a particular area of town where offenders are kind of huddled up at. I do know because I'm on a board of an organization that does homelessness that there are some offenders who end up homeless, ended up taking
Yeah.
transitional housing through that. But yeah, this is interesting. Let me see. What did I miss here? Somalis will come up. Yeah, I think you'll see more Somalians in the system here pretty soon. Something quadratic. What's up, man? Hope you're doing well, bro. Dan Nixon said, "Do cousin marriages count as child abuse?" We have to ask Ohan that one. I don't know. I think that that's just weird, and maybe Vanta can give some insight more on that Somali cultural thing. I think that's a way for folks to game the system and get legal here in the United States by marrying cousins. You know, Somalians are doing what most other people do: is finesse whatever loopholes they get their hands on, so that they can get to this American bag and have a better opportunity at life. So yeah. All right, Lino. When you get back here, so we're gonna wrap it up. Let's see.
Okay.
Um, I think yeah. Actually, wait. In the culture. Okay, I'll ask you this final question. This is one of those magic wand questions, though. Oh wait. Vanta wants to come back up. All right, Vanta. I'll bring you up real quick. Just hit the same link I sent you, and then we're gonna wrap it up here in a second. Like 10 more minutes. That registry event is interesting. Yeah, we can do that. We can review the case. Me and Lionel will hop on this and figure out what's going on with this woman and her dad, which is wild. Yes, sir. Welcome back.
Yeah, real quick regarding cousin marriages. That's your question, Universal. Cousin
Yes.
marriage.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'll make it brief and clear. So cousin marriage, which I denounce, by the way, I disavow. But it does happen in Somali communities only from the father side, the paternal cousin, not the maternal. So I'm trying to give you information universal. So next time when these Somalis tell you, "Oh no, we don't marry our cousins," tell them, bro. In the Quran, in the Hadith, it says you can marry your cousin from your father's side. That's the only one that's acceptable, not your mother, not your cousin from your mother. It's your cousin from your father. And I still think that's still sick because that leads to complications, inbreeding, defects, and all that. You know, we know about the European history. The Habsburgs. Anyone who knows about the Habsburg, Habsurg, Habsburg. Like it leads to deformation, low IQ. Hence why universal. Oh, Somalis low IQ because they married their cousins. I don't advocate for it. And Minnesota, when you the stats, I was ready, yo. I was ready for the stat. I was ready for Somali to come up with the stat. God damn Somalians. But yeah, I just came up to just say I don't condone cousin marriage.
I forgot my mic was muted. Yeah, I put in a St. Paul zip code, but if I put in a Minneapolis, I think it's 55054. I think it's
You
Minneapolis.
know what? Also,
More Somalis.
I'll help you in this one. I'll tell you exactly who lives in Minnesota, tribal
Yeah.
wise. And I'm telling you, my tribe is nowhere near in Minnesota. I promise you that one. My people are in Canada or on UK, but the ones in Minnesota is these goddamn, the communists that escaped Somalia from the 80s, and now they're in
Mm.
Minnesota. With that goddamn blue and white star.
They felt the flag. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not my flag. That's not my flag, sir.
Wow.
Yes,
Now
sir.
you know Minnesota. We changed our flag and it looks a lot like that. We did that.
Oh yeah, oh yes, I've noticed.
Very
It damn near
close.
looks like it looks like Djibouti flag. It looks like
It's
Djibouti.
very close. Very close. It's kind of crazy. Yeah.
I don't know what I think, bro. I'm telling you, god damn Americans, just deport Ilhan. Send that back to Mogadishu, straight up. We don't like my family don't like Ilhan, but yeah, I just came up to say me personally as a Somali lander, by the way, lander.
And what's the difference? Help us understand the difference.
Okay, I'll be quick. So basically, in the 50s, after the British Empire left, the UK established a democratic election for Somalis to transition from empire to democracy. And then on the first day, the first president got assassinated. Pow! And then it was taken over by a goddamn communist dictator called Siad Barre. We call him Barry, like Barack Obama. Siad Barre, and he was an Italian-trained, Russian-trained communist dictator, and he ruled Somalia until 1988. And then when the communist system failed, it led to a civil war where he blamed my tribe, the Isaac, Isaac, but it's called Isaac. And then 1991, from 88 to 1991, we escaped. We went to Europe, UAE, Arabia, blah blah. 1991, Somaliland was established, university. So from 91 till this day, Somaliland is a de facto, unrecognized by a healthy, functioning nation. And by the way, your president, Mr. Universal, Mr. Donald J. Trump, he promised to recognize us. That's all we're waiting for. We want the recognition. Because if America recognizes a nation, that means the UN has to recognize it, because America is a global power. Once Trump says Somaliland is recognized, goddamn Universal, so the rest of Somalia is cooked. And Somalia is scared of that. They don't want that to happen, because they want the whole thing to come back together. They want Kenya, Somalia, Ethiopia. They want the 5-star, the star.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it's too much infighting though, right? I don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah, and then you got Puntland. You got Puntland as well. Puntland is like the middle. It's like they want to be their own thing. It's like, God, bro, I'm telling you, University. You live in Minnesota. Chat to these Somalis. They'll tell you. Ask them about Somaliland and look at the reaction. Ask them, what do you think about Somaliland? Like, ugh.
Yeah, they kind of disavow. They just like move on. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have really taken a stake and claim of Minnesota. Like, this is where,
and by the way, Ilhan Omar comes from the family that was trying to delete my family. That's why my family hate that bitch. We don't like Ilhan Omar, bitch. Yeah, well, I'm telling you, there's some bad blood, Universe. There's some bad blood between.
I can tell. Yeah, we'll get into the Somali law.
I know. But I just came up to say regarding the stats, like I'm surprised Somalis didn't come up that often regarding child.
Yeah, I put in. I think this is the South Minneapolis, where a lot of Somalis are. They're not registered as offenders. Now, it doesn't mean that's not happening, but I didn't see a lot of Habibis up on the list there.
Oh yeah, the Habibi. Yeah. Also, University. You know the whole the Shiloh situation a while ago.
Shiloh,
the white lady, the white
boy.
lady.
Yeah.
You know the guy that was recording her. He was a Somali. He was Somali, but he was a rapist, because I can't say the word fully.
Oh really?
Rapist. Yes.
I didn't know that.
And he got bailed out because of Ilhan Omar. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And he's down in Rochester.
His name is Sharmake Omar. Sharmake.
That's probably why they didn't really interview him. Like if you notice, he recorded a video and he didn't get interviewed at all, not once by anybody. He probably did his background. I did find that weird. But that story went so viral.
Yeah, well, when I looked into it, I'm like, I'd rather send money to Shiloh than him.
Mm-hmm.
F him. Yeah. But yeah, Universal, thank you for having me on again, second time.
No,
See you
no
again.
problem, man. We'll have to do some more talk on Somali code. I find it fascinating for various different reasons. But
Listen,
the
you are my brother in Somali. I know you're a goddamn demon when it comes to Somali women. God damn you.
demon man, I'm an angelic being. It's Sunday, man. I just spread the gospel. The ladies love Universal. Salute to them, by the way.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, you do. Yeah.
We're talking about abuse, man. Get out of here. Get out of here. I don't abuse anybody. I'm just a nice guy. All right. I should play a video. Uh, Actually, I am gonna play a video just for shits and giggles, but we're gonna wrap up. All right. So I'm gonna ask you this question before we go. Let me answer Dan Nixon. I did look up the Tim Tate. I think he has 3 books on child abuse. I did send the link to Lionel. He doesn't know who Tim Tate is, so we have to do some research. But we will swing back
Yeah.
on Tim Tate. And if I'm not mistaken, his books are fiction based. I don't. They may be like referencing true events, but they're more fiction books. So I tell you right now, I ain't gonna read the whole book, but I'll skim through it enough and do enough research to have at least some sort of opinion about it. And if there's anything particular you want me to check out, Daniel Nixon, just let us know in the chat. All right. All jokes aside, thank you, appreciate it. My last question for you today, and then this will help kind of leverage us into the next conversation we have is if you had power to make one immediate change, whether that's in culture, policy, parenting, or how the system's designed to help protect children from abuse, um, what would you actually do? How would you help to prevent this exploitation of young people?
This isn't a rainbow question because I think it's so deeply rooted that it's a dark history and it's a very dark outcome because it's just happening. That's the thing. It's just happening. It's not being stopped. And the more we exploit sex, the more we make it openly available. Even me trying to even say that is not stopping anything. That's the problem. Because you can't save everybody. And in the same vein, you know how much this is happening. And there's a lot you don't know in the same vein of how much this is happening. And so I have to think on that, on what could possibly change, because anything I suggest, people are just going to find ways to cut corners. They're going to find a loophole. They're going to find a way to go under the radar to make it happen. I mean, you got to mess with people's minds. Ultimately, there's got to be some sci-fi shit. You got to mess with people's minds. Because I don't have a realistic solution, especially when the majority of this is happening in the homes.
Well, I think that's a good place to pause. I was gonna see if I can find a video clip of Lloyd Dumas to play, but I think you stuck that landing good enough. So we're gonna wrap up the show. We'll be back. We haven't figured out an actual time slot or some consistency, but we'll try to come back at least again this week
Yeah.
with part 2. We'll respond to some clips as well. Hopefully by then I can find some of these Tim Tate books. Um, I'm gonna search some of my online networks first to see if I can find his books, and if I can't, then I'll go old school and get them from the library. So we'll make something go. But we appreciate you all for who all stopped by. Salute to Napstar, Jula Aquarius, Vanta, Daniel Nixon, Garion in the building. Quadratic. Hope you're doing well. I haven't seen you in a minute, Quad. Miss John Galt popped in for a minute. Let's see. Who else? Oh, the lovely Mooncake. Oh, Mooncake. Salute to Mooncake. Kirian. John Cole. Speak. Salute to Speak. Stopped in as well. Sam, my man. Oh, wait. Where did I go? Oh, my man Sam. Salute to you, sir. And of course, the first lady of the channel, Lolo. Hey, Lo. All right, folks, that's gonna do it for us today. Again, thank you, Lionel, for stopping by, sir. I'm gonna drop you
Appreciate
down.
you.
I'll talk to you later. People, it's important for us to understand that sexual abuse is a real thing. I have not been sexually abused myself. I know other people who have been. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who are suffering with this. There are people who are not telling their story. There are people who are living with this pain that happened to them years ago or more recently, and their kids are in danger. They're not protected. This doesn't mean that we have to shelter them and force them to live a life where they can't experience things and be children and have fun. But it does mean that we need to be more cautious and more serious about protecting their innocence, protecting their humanity, protecting their souls. 'Cause these kids are exposed to all types of stuff. And as Lionel shared with you all today, majority of this stuff happens in the home from people you know. So if you see something, say something, do something. Don't just act like it didn't happen. I grew up in a community where if there was sexual abuse in homes, people say stuff like, don't go by that person, stay away from that uncle, or don't be alone with that person, keep an eye on the kids. But no one ever talked about what that meant. And I met hundreds of families that have had similar situations as a counselor or as somebody who works in social services that uncle touched them, that aunt touched them, that babysitter did something. This stuff is happening, man, and it's unfortunate, but it does take place. And we just have to do our best to kind of minimize this as best as we can. So hopefully this episode wasn't too boring or too daunting or too doom and gloom, as some people may say, but it does get you to think about what can we do differently. As I continue to rework this channel, it's all about doing better. And sometimes we're gonna have tough stories, sometimes we're gonna have a little bit of fun, sometimes we're gonna have a mix. But I hope that you find something constructive in whatever I do and what I'm bringing here. So with that, I want to encourage you to be safe, be constructive, and be well. We'll talk to you all soon. Godspeed. Peace out.
Oh my God, it's just such an unbelievable moment.